Hey, Bob. I'm
Oh.
Steve Wathen with Equity.
Well, hi, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, good. Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you. Have a seat.
Thank you. Thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today. I'm sure you're
Sure.
busy. Everybody is in this environment, but
Yes.
you know, I think I've got something useful to talk to you about, and looks like you're a accomplished golfer, or maybe not an accomplished golfer based on that trophy.
Very good. Yeah, I actually have a goal. This kind of reminds me. I have a goal of playing the top 100 courses in the world.
Really?
And, I'm about halfway there right now.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
50
so
of them?
Yeah.
How many? Do you have any idea how many countries? Are you keeping track, or?
Yeah, I'm off of probably about 3 continents right now.
Wow.
With the courses, so
Hey, that's impressive.
it's exciting. I mean, I got some time. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
Do you have a goal for when you're going to be finishing that up?
Next year.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Hey.
Won't be working too hard though.
Right. No,
But,
that's awesome. It's great to have a passion like that that inspires you and so forth. You know, it's interesting too with you being here in Columbus. You're of course familiar with the ICSC,
Yes.
and we're very active members nationally and also in the Ohio chapter. We sponsor at the Ohio ICSC every year in Columbus. We sponsor a little golf outing, and it's mostly retailers. You being a landlord might be pretty interesting, a lot of fun. Have you out day of golf with us, meet some of our other guys, and also, meet some retailers that might fill your centers up.
Well, let me know when that is, because
Yeah.
that could be kind of interesting because of the vacancies I have in this one local center here.
Sure.
Might be able to make some sense.
Good. Well, the ICSC is always in July, so I'll give you a good heads up, at least 4 weeks or so in
Okay,
advance,
good.
so we get you out.
No,
It'd be
I
awesome.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, the reason I called was to talk to you about the center there at Cleveland Avenue and 161. I think I'd mentioned to you on the phone that I'd just driven by it. I noticed you had a pretty good slug of vacancy, just ballparking. It looks like it's about 40% vacant. And thought that, again, that's where we could perhaps add some value to help you fill that thing up. So I wanted to, if I could, just find out a little bit about the center and your plans, what you're doing there, and see if there's some way we could help.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a thorn in our side right now. I mean, the other centers we have, we probably have, 9 right now. But that's the one, and our occupancy is very high, close to 100% on every other center except for this one. And, we're scratching our heads trying to figure this thing out.
And how many centers do you have
We have
total?
9.
9 centers. And are they all in town here, or are you?
But throughout the Midwest,
Uh,
I would say, as far west as Missouri and as far east as Pennsylvania.
And how do you come to have all these centers? Maybe, what's a little of your background?
I worked for a larger developer, worked for Westfield for a couple of years, and then with the CAST organization after that, and got the bug, was always in the development end of it, and decided to embark on my own, and had an investor partner, and that started it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good. Great story. Love success stories. So how did this center come to be so vacant compared to the rest of your portfolio?
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. I mean, the large one of the large box, that's just a tenant that went out, everywhere. So it really wasn't our fault. When that one tenant went out, we had a couple of leases that had co-tenancy clauses, and a couple of people bolted on that. A couple of retailers left on that particular thing. So that kind of started a little bit of a wave. Now we think it's at the bottom, and we're really interested in trying to move this thing along. I mean, we're just not used to this kind of vacancy, so it's really got our attention.
Sure. I mean, that kind of vacancy bother pretty much anybody.
Yeah. And we're kind of thinking right now as to whether we need to actually get a third-party source, and that's not something that we've considered before. So that's kind of new ground for us as well.
Really? Why haven't you ever considered a third-party leasing?
We just feel that the ones that are going to work it the most are the ones that we own the property, and we know that that's what we're thinking about when we go to bed at night and when we get up in the morning. So we don't think anybody does it, quite as well as we can do it.
Okay. And has there been a bad experience in the past? You mentioned you were with Casto and some others that I know some of those guys use third-party agents.
Not very often, though.
Okay.
Westfield, more of a mall group, so they did a lot of their own in-house. Casto, they were always a little bit tougher on fees. We tried to do as much as we could in-house there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think might change your mind, allow you to consider a third-party agent as a resource, particularly given that this is, among the properties you mentioned, maybe the problem child?
Yeah. We'd want somebody with expertise, because we've seen some brokers. We've seen some brokers that have brought some tenants to us that really haven't done the tenants. So we've seen no offense intended, but we've seen brokers across the board. We've seen some that have been very bad, and so we would want somebody with expertise. That would be number one for sure. And then we want to know when they're getting up in the morning, are they thinking about our property as well?
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
would be important to us.
Now, expertise and empathy are really important. Anything else?
Those are probably the top two. We think if we have somebody with the expertise, and if they're actually working our property the way we would do it, we think the property still can sell itself. I mean, we just think it needs to be marketed out there. And I think, well, speaking of that, maybe we need something a little bit more of a market exposure. If there was a way where a broker could expand that search, where we get a little bit more of a notoriety somehow through some of the online services or whatever some of the brokerage groups have. I mean, that could be helpful too. We'd like it to be opened up to the brokerage community, quite honestly.
When you say it opened up, could you describe that a little better?
Just some of the services where, some of the brokers have talked about that, where there's these online type services where brokers can get, see and hear about properties and those kind of things. Just some general marketing that way, online. I don't know much about them, but.
Okay. Yeah, that exposure is certainly going to help.
Right. And it's just this would be new territory for us. I mean, we just have to get comfortable with the person.
Okay.
And we gotta get to know them a little bit. We need to trust them.
Great. Well, it probably goes without saying that I'd like to be that guy that you get comfortable with.
Right.
And I'll just take a second here. I'll share with you a few things about equity. I know you've probably seen our signs around town, but I know we've never met. So let me just, you mentioned a couple things, and I think, Bob, first of all, the things you mentioned are critical. They're things that are right in the forefront of our daily activities. You mentioned exposure, getting it out in the services. This is one of the things, and I'll show you the system we use once we sign the listing. Say we did that today, literally signed the listing agreement. These things shown here are things that literally would happen yet today. I'd go back to the office, it'd get exposure on these 4 services. And there's some things here, you mentioned CoStar, eqsales. These are the things that, they're valuable, they're important. Every broker has them, but that's the other point. Every broker has them. So those aren't the things that set us apart. We go the extra mile in a lot of ways. We're even more creative, we feel, than a lot of others in that we use some of the just market services. We put these out on Craigslist. We've actually gotten hits on Craigslist. Doesn't cost you anything.
You're kidding.
No, I'm serious. Not a lot of activity, but you're talking about a center at 161 in Cleveland that you have a great opportunity with a neighborhood component. Those are local tenants. And Craigslist is a great way to fish for those local tenants and get response. So, and the more response we have, the more opportunities we have to lease your center. Okay. So we want to create as much exposure as we can, more than you're going to get with the typical firm. Okay. You talked about expertise. Well, again, I I've got the bios of my team in here, my personal bio, and this is another guy who works with me. And you look at these backgrounds, and what you'll see with me is 20 years of experience. The two other guys on my team, this fella and a newer person, Jim's been in the business for 5 years. Again, personal tutelage, very committed. And I'll tell you another thing that's unique about me, Jim, and Tom is that we're all retail specialists. This is all we do. We're highly focused.
Good.
We're true experts. I mentioned the ICSC earlier. Heavily engaged in the industry. We know the clients. We know the retailers. We don't go to a retailer and just say, you know, here's Bob's Center at 161 in Cleveland. I'd like you to take a look at it. That's no good. We go to those retailers with their demos, with what they're looking for. We demonstrate to them
important.
that your center
Yep.
is exactly what they're looking for. And we target those that we know are a good match
Right.
for the demos around your center. We're really looking at that 1, 2, 3 mile to get those household incomes and the other things. So we create very, very targeted exposure. Again, we're applying that expertise for you. And the result is, as with the greater exposure and some of the other things we do, is your center's going to lease faster, you're going to restore that revenue quicker, and get that thing back online with the rest of your portfolio that's all running at 100%, as you said earlier. So, again, the things you want, I think we can deliver in spades and better than most. All we have to do to get this going, get started, is listing agreement. Pretty simple document. I'm sure you've looked at them before.
Right.
Sounds like you've turned them away before.
Exactly.
But we have an opportunity to really add a lot of value to what you're doing. And so I'd like to present you with a listing agreement, see if we can't sign up and try this out and see if we can't fill your center up.
Well, you're going a little bit fast for me, Steve.
Okay.
I appreciate
Sorry?
it. I'm a salesman too, and I really appreciate that. But you know what? We really, I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to take a look at several firms, and see what else is out there. I mean, we've actually met with one other firm. You're only the second firm, and I think we're going to need to talk with some other people.
Okay.
So let's get. Why don't we just stay in touch? Just give me a call every couple of weeks, and we'll tell you, when we get close to that decision.
Well, Bob, could you tell me who that other firm is? Would you be willing to tell me who I'd be competing with?
Yes, it's the Herminator Company.
Herminator Company. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
familiar with them. They're one. I'll tell you, Jim Herman is a great guy. Like him a lot. I can understand your interest in working with him. But just by contrast, we are and again, may not know this, we're the largest retail brokerage firm in Ohio now. We have offices in...
You're kidding.
No, we have little known here in town because people from Columbus think we're a Columbus firm. But
Right.
we have 7 offices around the country, 4 of which are in Ohio cities. We've got Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati,
I like
and
that.
Dayton.
I like
Yeah.
that
And
because
it-
what your Cleveland guys may even find something that's not in Columbus yet, and maybe be able to bring something down here.
Sure. And that, again, just another advantage, the coverage. Being able to bring more tenants, we have more people, more resource, more contacts with more retailers every day. And again, Jim's a great guy. Like I said, I love him, great guy. He's a member of the ICSC also.
Right.
He's in eqsales, he's in CoStar. But Jim only has 4 people in his office, and they're only here in Columbus.
All right.
So in terms of exposure, platform, hands down, just look at the facts. We've got the advantage. And again, we're the ones that can bring that exposure to you. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to fill your center up.
Right.
So, you could look at him, someone else, spend some time doing that. We can get busy today.
Yeah.
Start working. Like I said, here's the list of stuff we're going to do today when I get back to the office. In
Right.
fact, I could be back here in an hour with a listing agreement. By 4 o'clock today, I'd have this done.
No, I hear you. It's just the idea of a third party on our particular property, and what about fees? I mean, we haven't even gotten into fees. I mean, typically broker fees in general. I mean, they're it's a pretty good hit.
Mhm.
And, you know, we're going to probably have to buy a couple of these first tenants that come in with 40% vacant. I don't know if there's enough of a spread, you know, the more we think about it.
Sure.
Do we just try to do it on our own, or do we go
You know,
to a brokerage group?
it's a great question. I've seen a
Okay.
lot of people get taken advantage of by fees
Right.
and paid too much for what they got. So that, I mean, very legitimate question. I can tell you that our view of fees is a lot different than most firms.
Okay.
I think most firms you might call, you're going to come out, you're going to sign that listing agreement, you're going to pay a market fee, which market fee would be 6% of the gross commission on the lease.
Is that pretty well standard throughout?
That's pretty well standard. I think that you'd have 10 guys in here, 9.5 out of 10 would say 6%.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think it's standard, and it allows us enough inducement, too, that when we're dealing with tenant reps that are representing retailers that we really want for your center that we're targeting, it provides enough to pay them, and we get compensated for our work. And it's, again, considered market, so it doesn't push any of those guys away. So, and I think it's important to be at market. But when I talk about our view of fee, it's not that the absolute aggregate amount of the fee, the actual dollar amount. I'm talking about what we do to earn the fee.
Yes.
We look at fees as a requirement, a value requirement that we need to bring to you, to the owner, landlord. Okay. If I don't bring you value that exceeds my fee, what you're going to pay me, then you never should have hired me in the first place.
Right.
An example of not providing value is the realtor who takes your listing, puts a sign up, and waits for someone to call. You're not getting any value for that. You can put a sign up. I drove by your property. You have your sign up. It's in the window in all 3 vacant spaces.
It's true.
But there's an awful lot of guys that do that. That guy's fee is too expensive. Ours is not. We'll put a sign up, take us about a week, and we'll have signs on the property everywhere and as big as legally permissible. Right. We're going to be on the phone long before those signs are up, calling those targeted retailers I talked about, the ones we think are a great fit.
Sure.
We're going to do our market research as well. In fact, I've done a little bit that I can show you, but we know who's absent in that market and likes that kind of demo. So we're going to be after those people. We're going to start putting our direct mail together as soon as I get back to the office. We produce that internally, so that can be out within a week. There's just an awful lot we do. When you talk about that fee and the dollars it represents, and just think if that space could be leased 4 or 5 months sooner with that kind of Herculean effort versus the guy that puts the sign in, that's the value.
Right.
That's where what you've gained as my customer is greater than what you've paid me. That's my view of fee.
Okay.
So anyway, again, I can get all this started. You just say the word, we're ready to go.
Well, you are quite the salesman, aren't you,
Well,
Steve? I mean, I appreciate your coming.
I appreciate the compliment, Bob.
Well, here's, you know, Steve, here's really the challenge. I've got a couple of tenants right now that, you know, I really want to see where I can take these things. I mean, it's kind of early on, but, you know, I think I could really land these things. And if it, you know, maybe if I get these tenants in, you know, then I may come back and consider getting or enlisting the property. It's just the idea, you know, maybe I could do this without giving out fees at this point.
How did you get those tenants, by the way? The ones you're talking about, did they call off that sign I saw?
One called off the sign, and we have a relationship in another shopping center.
Okay, good. Well, again, those are people you don't want to turn away. Those are live ones.
Exactly right.
But, and excuse me for being a little direct, but that doesn't seem like a very targeted approach, and it doesn't seem like you've really surveyed the entire market. And this goes back to that value question I mentioned earlier. One, you've got a couple guys on the hook, that's great, but it doesn't sound like either of them is competing for the space. They both fit, so they're not competing with one another, so you have 2 mutually exclusive tenants and 0 competition. Well, we know that without competition for the space, there's little to no demand for the space. And we know from econ class, excess demand, constrained supply
I was never
creates...
very good in econ.
Okay, well here we go. That constrained supply, excess demand creates a higher price, and that's what I'm talking about. Can you imagine if we're talking about 5-year deals on 40% of that center, if I got you $1 more per foot, just $1, now look at my fee in relation to what you've made. The fee becomes inconsequential. And you're talking about possibly saving fee on these 2 tenants, but you've generated no competition. You hire me, Bob, again, you're going to have the biggest firm in the state of Ohio with reach across the United States, working with all the tenants, all the nationals, a team cold calling here in Columbus, all the locals. We're going to bring a lot of attention to bear. We're going to bring competition to that center. At the end of the day, these may still make sense, but only if we've proven that out with that market competition.
Okay.
And again, if things go the other way, we bring that competition, it results in another $1 in your pocket, then you'll be happy you had us.
Well, Steve, you know, that makes a lot of sense because I know I'm going to have to probably buy a couple of these first tenants that are coming in, and I'm going to need something to leverage myself with these guys. So that's making some sense to me.
Okay, good.
But I'll tell you what,
So-
I've got to get back to some things. I really appreciate the time you're taking on this, and you know, let me think about it. I mean, you've made some good points, and you know, maybe we just need to jump in
Okay.
the situation.
Well, I mean, would you be willing to sign us up? Could I bring a listing agreement by?
No, let's not. Let me think about it a little bit.
Okay.
I got to talk to my wife about it, and I have a partner actually on this deal. I'm really the one that makes the decisions on
Yeah.
it, but there's another partner. So let me at least kick that around a little bit.
Okay. No, that's great. You know, and I love the family values. I really honor the fact that you want to speak to your wife about it. I'll tell you what I'll do, just so that if those are affirmative conversations, we're ready to go. I'm going to drop that listing agreement by, just so you can glance through the terms, no pressure. And I'm going to drop by a couple examples too of things we've done. I talk about all this stuff we do right out of the gate.
Yes.
When you sign that listing agreement, I'm going to bring some samples by. I won't take any more of your time, but I'll leave those for you. And then I'll follow up with you. It's Thursday. I'll follow up with you before the end of next week.
How about a couple? I'll tell you what I'm interested in. What about a couple of case studies too?
Okay.
Just where you've been able to turn around something very quickly.
Absolutely.
And, I'd like to see a little bit of that. That would be helpful.
Fantastic. I'd be happy to do it. I'll have all that together and have it to you by noon tomorrow.
Okay.
And like I said, by end of next week, I'll give you a call. We'll answer any questions you have at that point. Hopefully we'll be sitting down at that time and signing up. Does that sound okay?
That's really
All right.
good, Steve.
Great, Bob.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it very much.
Nice
Thanks
meeting
for your
you.
time.
All right.
Yeah, have a great day. See you later.
Hasta luego. And don't let the door hit you
Yeah,
on the way
really.
out. Glad
you
I got rid of
pissed
him.
me off. All right, how'd that go?
Good.
Couple points with that. Okay. So, we dial the phone. This is gonna be really awkward.
You almost want to cut that and just go to like
Go to a call.
Now you're not the CEO anymore. You're a salesperson. You almost want.
Yes, hi, this is Steve Wathen. I'm with Equity Incorporated. We're the 14th largest healthcare developer in the U.S. Let me do this over.
to.
I